You can punch above your weight if you've got the right systems and knowledge. That's an amazing quote from Neil Dodd, owner of the Letterbox Consultancy. Welcome to the session, Neil. How are you?
Thank you, Amit. Yeah, very well, thank you.
Awesome stuff. Let's get straight into it, sir. Tell us a bit about your business and what kind of services you provide.
Yeah, no problem. So we're at the Letterbox Consultancy. Our main function, we're a specialist agency that help our clients plan and deliver unaddressed material into homes across the UK. So we use targeting software and mapping software to deliver typically leaflets, but often things like magazines or catalogues to specific target audiences in key areas, generally hoping that that will generate a certain level of response to buy a product or service.
Fantastic, fantastic. And we had the benefit of speaking a bit before the session. And you mentioned that the business has been running for over 50 years, and your role has been in the industry or in the business for about 13 years now. You mentioned how systems and knowledge have really contributed to you guys growing and scaling. Tell us a bit more about the importance of having systems in place in your business.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I mean, there's probably sort of two parts to that. There's the systems that enable us to provide clients with key data that is part of the campaign. So we have a number of planning systems and mapping systems that are really important to big brands to feel confident that the material they're producing is delivered to key audiences rather than blanket drop to anyone. So understanding those as part of a wider marketing environment is key, and a lot of what we do will form part of a media plan. So
Mm.
distributions will often run alongside things like TV campaigns or radio campaigns. So the data that we have will enable us to ensure the campaign runs efficiently and generates the best response. The other side of it is that as a small business, having grown from a family business into a specialist agency, um, we've had to carefully introduce internal systems that enable us to run efficiently
Mm.
and to protect ourselves, but very keen not to introduce levels of bureaucracy that are unnecessary and that slow us down and make us slow to respond to clients.
Brilliant. And that's so refreshing to hear because plenty of business owners are really listening and thinking, how do I scale my business? Because sometimes more business just means more work, which means more working hours for me, which means less holidays for me.
Mm.
And that's a common conundrum I've seen amongst plenty of business owners. You've come back from a really lovely holiday from Portugal, so you're away for several weeks. Um, so when it comes to systemizing your business, did you find or would you empathize with business owners who have a mental challenge about letting go
Mm.
and letting somebody else take on the work? What's your experience or thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good question because I've spoken to people in the past and taken advice from people who have very different opinions on the subject. I mean, personally, I'm a big believer in once you've found the right people, is giving them a level of autonomy that means that you don't need paperwork and meetings day to day that slow them down. And I think an obsession with central control will ultimately stop you from achieving your aims because your company will change from one that is a family business that offers clients very quick and good levels of service to a bigger company that is too busy in meetings and filling paperwork to actually get the job done. So I think
Mm.
having staff around you that you trust and leaving them to it to a certain degree is important. I mean, from a personal perspective, I think I'm probably somewhere on the journey of being able to hand work over. Mm, We when I'm away, I wouldn't claim to be completely away from work and have one eye on it, but I think the systems that we have in place in the office and the people that we have in the office are sufficiently capable that they don't need me holding their hand. Um, and
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's a really good position to be in. So the people that listen to this session probably thinking, if I was to systemize my business, where should I start? Now there are probably some generic systems and processes every business that's got 5 or 10 staff members should typically have. I mean, what advice would you give to a business owner that's got about 5 to 10 staff members that's thinking, where do I start to systemize? Where would you probably nudge them to start from your experience?
Well, I mean, I think for me, it all centers around what the client needs, not really what you need, and ultimately, the system. If you want to put systems in place that to help you run efficiently, they need to be mindful of what that means for your clients. And so our
Mm,
systems that we have in place really revolve around how we will generate proposals for clients and how we will provide them to clients. And we have various systems in place that enable us to do that quite quickly and efficiently. And then internal processes, again, it really is about keeping things with the client in mind. And so even as something as simple as an update to clients to tell them that the job has started and completed, those things can be handled relatively simply. But if you're not considering the client when you put those systems in place, I think they can become overly onerous and
right.
more what's better for for you as a central person than it is for your client.
That makes sense. Makes absolute sense. You've had a benefit of working in a family business. Some people think that's amazing. Some people think, I'll never be in business with my family. There's probably two different buckets of people over there. So your business was started by a father, and then over the years you've kind of moved over the realms. What would you say are your top three learnings to making a family business work really well?
Yeah, good question. I mean, this isn't going to help anyone, but I think there is a degree of luck and involved because I'm very lucky that we found ourselves in a situation that just worked for us really well, and it wasn't anything necessarily we planned. We gave it a go and it worked. I mean, we're sort of trying to post rationalize why it worked. I think there were very clear defined roles in terms of who's doing what. So I think that was quite important. I think the trust. I think my dad always probably showed a large degree of trust in me right from the start, which
Hmm.
possibly more than I was due, really. But I think that helped me. Um,
How
and
did it help you? Trust. Did it mean you got more
well,
responsibilities given to you at an early stage?
yeah, I think we quickly became really working alongside each other, where we both day to day we're just working with our own clients, and I obviously needed his help as I learnt my trade, but right from the start, I mean, there was no fear from him in leaving me to handle client
Mm.
work and speak to clients directly. And I had history of that in my previous job, but not in this discipline. And so I think that he showed me a level of trust that I in turn passed on, I think, to people that we've brought in, which is quite important.
That's amazing. So kind of start you see you say it's a lot of it's based on luck. But looking into a bit more better, you're saying that clear delineation and definition of roles was important, what your father was doing, what you were doing, what other family members were doing. A good organization, a bit like in a football team, who's the defender, who's the striker, who's the goalkeeper, kind of thing. After that, moving on to trust, just kind of trusting and delegating, let your own sail your own ship. And that trust help you then kind of delegate and systemize and delegate your jobs to your staff members. So that learning of trust you got from your father has been working its way through the system, through the
Yeah,
business.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to interrogate. I mean, particularly the person a few years ago, we brought someone in who has taken a lot of work from my dad, basically, and is handling clients in the same way that I handle clients. And he is also looking at new business. But I don't need to interrogate what he's doing hour by hour in the day, um,
Mm.
because I know that we catch up regularly, and I know that top line results are good. So I think that there's room for looking at in more detail at what someone is doing hour by hour and helping them through their day. But I don't think that's necessary if you can see that overall things are working well. So he deserves our trust because clearly he's doing a good job. So I think your level of involvement in someone's day really depends on
How much
overall.
you trust them.
Yeah, and ultimately showing people trust and is I think part of them enjoying their job and being good at their job.
Amazing, amazing, absolutely, that's true. We're running out of time, but I'm going to sneak in one quick question. Looking into the future, looking 3 years ahead, you've seen the economy changing, the landscape changing, people's preferences for marketing changing. What would you say, if you were to summarize in 3 bullet points, the top three challenges you reckon your business could be facing over the next 3 years?
Yeah, a good question. I mean, we're fortunate in that because we're small and specialist, we're quite lean. We don't have a lot of overheads, and our client base is quite spread. So working backwards, those things help us to be protected against a lot of the threats that we might face. That
Mm,
naturally we have grown to the point where we've taken on some big clients, and in that is a threat in itself, in the sense that the more bigger clients you work with, the more danger is that you might lose them. But I think we continue to try and keep a nice mix of clients so that won't ever be a large threat to our business.
mm,
I mean, within what we do, we're a print. Ultimately it's a print media business, and print media has suffered from digital media taking more and more of a share of the market. So I think you always have to keep an eye on that. But the more I've worked in the discipline, the more I can see the differences in what we do versus more digital channels. So I'm confident that whilst that is a threat, because obviously other media can take business from you, I am confident I've seen enough to show that clients need what we do.
mm,
So that's something that any business needs to keep an eye on. And lastly, it's really because we don't employ in-house services, we subcontract our work. We are beholden to what's happening on our supplier base. So that's probably the biggest thing that could affect our business, that we have least control over, because we're reliant, we're media buyers, we're not media owners. So
mm.
but we work with those partners to manage that risk as best we can, and we are always looking at other revenue streams to sort of dilute that risk and protect ourselves as well.
Lessen risk management over there as well, looking at different revenue streams, diluting the risk of, subcontracting. Love the sound of that. Neil, it's been absolutely fantastic speaking to you. It's been short, it's been sweet, but it's been full of great wisdom you've shared with the people here. Absolutely love it. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you. It's been great.